I wanted to tell you a little bit about my life as a funeral director. I often get asked, how do you do it? How do you do that terrible job? I don't think my job is terrible. I love what I do. I get to deal with people who really need my help at low points in their life, and I feel very blessed to be able to help them. I want to tell you a little story of faith and healing that happened to me 2 years ago. I had a family call me that I didn't know, and they came into my office to meet with me. It was a husband and a son-in-law who came in to make arrangements for a woman who was in palliative care. Anyway, they came in and we made arrangements for her. She was not, she hadn't died yet. She was still in the hospice situation. So the next day, her daughter came in to see me, and her daughter sat in my office and we talked about her mom, and she picked out some special prayer cards she wanted, and then we talked about the baby that she was expecting. And she has 3 little girls, and she was so excited because she was going to have this baby. And it was very sad for her at the same time that her mother was dying. So it was real mixed emotions for her. But we talked for a long time, and then she went home. And they were a very, very nice family. And about 2 days later, I got a phone call from her husband. And he said to me, Marion, Haley's going to lose the baby. Well, that was so horrible to me because we were sitting there talking about the baby, and it was just hard for me because 28 years before, the same thing happened to me. And I felt like God sent them to me because I could help them on their journey. So they invited me over to the palliative care unit where I sat with them for several hours and we talked about different scenarios because obviously her mother was dying and her baby was dying. Were we going to have the funerals together? Were they going to, what options did they have? And we went over everything. And when I left there that night, I thought to myself, these aren't strangers that I just met a couple days ago. These people, God sent to me because I could help them with something that maybe another person wouldn't be able to. So, the next phone call I got was that Haley's mother had passed away, and I took care of that, and we just kept her at the funeral home until Haley had to wait to go into labor to deliver her baby. So we waited, and 2 days later, I got a phone call from Tony, Haley's husband, and he said to me, Marion, Haley just delivered the baby, and we're at Lutheran General. And I said to him, do you want me to come over there? And he said, oh no, you don't have to. And then I talked to Haley, and I asked her the same thing, do you want me to come over there? And she said, oh, please do. So at 3 in the morning, I went over to Lutheran General, and I spoke with them, but I was given the biggest blessing of my life. They asked me if I wanted to hold the little baby. And I held that little baby in my arms, and I felt like God had just blessed me with being able to almost relive what happened to me before so that I could heal. And up until this point, I never really felt like I had healed from what happened to me. But through helping them, I was able to heal. The next time I saw them was when Haley got out of the hospital. They called me over to their house, and we were going to discuss funeral arrangements for the baby. Well, when I got there, we just talked about the experience that they'd just gone through. We couldn't talk about a funeral. We couldn't talk about anything except everything that was going on in Haley's and Tony's life right then. She just lost her mother, she just lost her baby, and we picked out little baby clothes, tiny little clothes to go on this little baby. And I felt once again like God had put me in this situation to be helpful to them. So when Haley was able to leave her house a couple of days later, we had 2 wakes at the same time. And I believe that the wake was so important for their healing process because they had so many friends and relatives come out and show their love and support, which is just something you'll never forget. They will never forget how much love was shown to them that night. And all through what we went through together, it was just, I could never have done any of it without asking the Holy Spirit to come in and help me, because it was an unbelievable experience. But to this day, Tony and Haley are really good friends of ours. And their 3 little girls and their new baby boy love my family, my daughters. They just have become really good friends. So we were very, very blessed at that time. It is in giving that we receive. And about what I do, I'm a funeral director, and I think that one of the most important things that I do is I like to create lasting memories. I like people to, when they come in, and some people have been through it before the arrangement process, some people have not, but I like when people come in to be able to sit down and talk with them about all the things that they want to remember about the person that they're taking care of. So it's very important to me that people tell me a little bit about the person, and then, you know, when the wake goes on, if there is a wake, they have pictures and DVDs, and I like to include a lot of family members in the service if I can, because every person who contributes always remembers that they were there and they did that, and it's a really important thing for them. When people are older, we say that they had a good life and we celebrate their life. And when people are younger, we say, why God? Why did you take them? But we still celebrate their life. And what I do is help people, or if I help them decide what kind of a service they want to have, if they want to have a traditional funeral, which is a wake, and a funeral the next day, going to church in the cemetery, or if they want to do something different than that. Some people today have wakes the morning of the funeral, and then they go to church, and after church, they go to the cemetery, or they don't. There's all different kinds of options for funerals today, cremation being very prevalent among them. And a lot of times when people think cremation, they think of, okay, we'll cremate them and then we'll just get rid of them. But actually, a cremation can be done the exact same way as a traditional funeral. If people want to have a viewing and then go to church and go to the cemetery, cremation can occur after being in the chapel there. And then there's cremation that happens immediately with no visitation or anything, and that's called a direct cremation, and people do that often today too. And then they have memorial services. But no matter what people do, there's still always, in some way, celebrating a life. And that's what I like to make sure people get the opportunity to do. The other thing that I brought some brochures on is funeral prearrangements. There, how could I forget that? Right? Today, a lot of people make funeral prearrangements, and the reason that funeral prearrangements are so awesome is because you get to decide what you want. You pick out everything the way you want it. You decide what kind of a funeral you want to have, if you want to have a traditional funeral or a cremation, and you do all of that. You pick out any things that you need, prayer cards, crosses, everything. And that is something that you can do to memorialize yourself, so to speak, so that your family and friends don't have to worry about it because you've already taken care of it. I brought a book that you can look through, and it just is something you can write information in and put it someplace safe so that in the event of your death, and don't worry, we will all die. We're all born and we will all die, even though nobody wants to go too quick. It's just a very valuable resource. Does anyone have any questions?
I don't have a question, but I do have, I don't know what I would have done without you, with all the deaths that have been in my family. You were there, you comforted me, you comforted my family. Without you, I wouldn't have been able to survive that, and I thank you.
You're awesome. Yes, sir.
How did you transform your job into your running the youth group here?
Well, I was very, very blessed to be able to get into that youth group too. I don't know, you know what, I say God provides, because 99% of the time, there are no conflicts. And I make removals, you know, I go out and pick people up. And I haven't had a call that conflicted with youth group yet. Seriously? I feel like when God called me to do the youth group, he kind of took me like this, you know, and went, you. And so ever since he did that to me, I saw a light. And I just have always felt like I really need to be there. But I also feel like I really need to be doing funerals too. I love that. And God somehow makes it work. If there was a conflict, I'd have to deal with it. I'd have Bashar over there take care of everything while I was gone. Yes?
What kind of training or education do you need to become a funeral director?
You need 2 years of college, and then Warsaw Mortuary College. That's a 1-year September to September program. And then after that, you serve an apprenticeship. And I've been licensed for, I don't want to say this, just slightly over 30 years. I just recently, though, in the last couple of years, started my own business. And I'm an independent contractor, which means that I work out of somebody else's funeral home. And so I also rent other funeral homes frequently. But it's worked out really well for me. No other questions? Thank you very much.